Okay, so this is Dave Vargas. He's the lead consultant for VATG Inc., where he fights and sometimes defeats all kinds of malware. In his spare time, he teaches cybersecurity at several colleges in the Washington, D.C. area. He also graduated magna cum laude from the George Washington University and has completed graduate work in information systems at the Johns Hopkins University. His current certifications include the CEH, CISSP, and of course the CIS. So without further ado, please welcome aboard Dave. Thank you.
Thank you. So when I walked in here this morning, this room was full. Now it's half people. Is that because of the alcohol downstairs? The connection. All right. I figured as much. All right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I was at Pittsburgh for the first time last year and fell in love with this city. And I was just telling someone I made as a friend just now that I just had to come back when I had the opportunity. It's just great people and it's a great city. So thank you for having me. So I want to let you know that there's a lot of stuff on this presentation because I'm a professor, and that's kind of like what we do. So if you want a copy of this presentation, I can just email me. I'll give you my email and the presentation. I'll send it to you. And if you have questions, just pose them as they arise. No need to wait to the end. Okay. All right. So I know I got a nice little introduction, but just let me add to that. And by the way, do you guys have a sense of humor? You have one?
What's that?
Because I did this presentation in Orlando, besides Orlando, and nobody laughed at my jokes, and I was really offended. I didn't really care about the presentations, but the fact that nobody laughed at my jokes. So there's jokes in there. So yeah, I've been doing this for over 20 years. How did I get involved with this? I'm one of those people that my career was chosen by others. Okay, I had no choice in anything I did. It started in the military. I used to actually work at the National Security Agency. I was in the Navy. And I worked with an admiral, and the admiral said, you know what, Professor Vargas, you're going to be in charge of computers. This was in 1986. Okay, so you know what the computing environment was around then. Didn't even know what a computer was, but the good thing is, set me on my career, and it's been downhill since then. All right, so yeah, I am a professor of cybersecurity at the George Washington University. I teach at Catholic University, and I'm a full-time professor at a community college now called Montgomery College. Does anybody know those places? Yeah? Okay, yeah. I love the community college. I think it's great. I have quite a bit of training. I said I started off in Navy cryptography, so I know encryption really well. And I actually did counterintelligence training for the Army. Any Army people here? All right, yeah, that was pretty cool. I went down to San Antonio, Texas, and learned how to follow people and how to do interviews. This is before the whole waterboarding thing. We did a little differently back then. So, but yeah, I've done a lot of other stuff, so, including digital forensics. Personal, I have a super hot, sexy wife from Guatemala. This is being taped, right? Just in case. I have to make sure I say that. No, she told me to say that. And 4 extremely attractive kids that obviously don't take after me. And I'm a member of a Seventh-day Adventist church, and I don't know if you know there, because when you're in cyber, you tend to pray a lot. In fact, I'll tell you right now, when I started praying, anybody ever work with Windows NT? Those service packs, I remember applying them at 10 at night and praying, please God, let this come back up, because I don't want to be up all night. So that's how I started. All right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to talk about exploit kits. Because I found that working in the cybersecurity community, and by the way, I'm a blue teamer, that people don't really understand what exploit kits are. And they're really kind of hurting us from a security perspective. And also we'll talk about, the link to Crimeware and also ransomware, which is becoming very big. Okay? So this is going to be our agenda for today. All right, so Crimeware-as-a-Service, this is becoming a very, very big thing. Can anybody tell me why? Why is cybercrime ballooning? And by the way, you only have a couple seconds.
It's profitable. Money.
Yeah, thank you so much, it's profitable. Who's going to jail for this stuff?
No one.
I mean, it's shocking to me. So, I mean, that's good job security for us, except for the tier 1 people who are going to get their jobs automated, right? That's what I'm hearing about. Yeah, but essentially, yeah, I mean, it ain't going anywhere because it's profitable, simple as that. And, it's actually even evolving. Some of these terms like malware as a service, some of you may have heard of it, ransomware as a service. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if I see another ransomware webinar, a ransomware article, I'm just going to shoot myself. I mean, I understand it's all over the place and people are getting impacted. In fact, have any of you been impacted by ransomware yet? Yeah, I have had clients that have been impacted by it, not in a very serious way. But I'll tell you now, in a way that I'm talking about prayer, once ransomware started to become popular a couple years ago, that kept me up at night. Because coming from NSA and understanding the power of cryptography, I knew there wasn't a good solution. And I just remember really praying, I hope none of my clients get this stuff, because as it evolved from just encrypting JPEG files and Excel spreadsheets and Word documents to actually going out to map drives and encrypting an entire P drive or a G drive, I knew it could be really, really devastating. Especially since I knew that you may pay the ransom and not necessarily get your money back. In fact, one thing about this ransomware as a service, it's this evolution as Crimeware-as-a-Service, is really it's just made creating this stuff really easy, and I'm going to go into that. In fact, did anybody hear about the 14-year-old that was just arrested for creating ransomware? You hear about that? In Japan, they arrested a 14-year-old for creating ransomware, which I think is amazing. He's 14 years old. Okay. So one of the things about the ransomware as a service is it's something that can be deployed with very little skill. And you're going to see why. I mean, this should not be unusual to you. But typically, it's going to be created in what we call an affiliate model, right? I do the hard work as a developer, create this very sophisticated code. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm not an expert in distribution, so I'm going to find someone who's an expert in distribution to distribute that for me. Okay? So look at this. So it provides a way to enter the ransomware market without needed technical skills. Now, it always kind of bothers me when I hear that, when you hear about script kiddies, we call them skids now, right? Skids. I mean, you got to have some technical ability still, to do this stuff, to distribute malware. Maybe not to the level of the developer, but because you know what, the people that do distribution, just like us as cybersecurity professionals, the skill sets are different, right, in what we do. But you still have to have some technical ability, just doesn't have to be at the high level that the developer has, okay? So I think this is a really good example, and I'm sorry if you got the presentation, you'll be able to read this, but this demonstrates the affiliate model. And this here, this was caught by Symantec on a darknet Tor hidden service site, where essentially in these lines here, they're discussing a 70-30 split. So, I'm the ransomware developer, I'm going to, whatever you distribute, I'll take 30% of, and you're going to get 70% of, which is pretty attractive, wouldn't you say? I think that's pretty attractive. Okay. So let's talking about exploits and payloads. I think people don't really understand what they are. So an exploit is, and you look at this definition as something that we learned in school over and over again, right? It's code that takes advantage of a vulnerability, some kind of flaw or weakness. Okay, but that's only part of it, right? All right. So guess what? This software application has a vulnerability. Great, right? But what we really want to try to do to exploit that vulnerability is really to execute code, okay? So the exploit, once again, is the vulnerability, but the ultimate goal is to exploit some kind of code. And usually that code, we're going to call that a payload. And what can that payload be? Well, today it looks like, it's ransomware, pretty much. I'm not sure, is anybody monitoring what percentage of the malware today is ransomware? Anybody know? I mean, it's pretty darn high. I mean, right, because if you remember the early days of malware, and I remember just malware being annoying, right? And I remember in the early 90s and the mid 90s we had malware that, what was that? We had a Bart Simpson malware that drove me crazy. And some people remember that? Yeah, I mean, it consumed resources, but it was very, very difficult, very easy to get rid of. And even early ransomware was easy to get rid of. We used to get hit, we got clients in DC, by the way, in DC, obviously it's a target-rich environment. But we got that scam where, you've been detected that you're surfing child porn sites. It's like the FBI warning, and, that's kind of a early form of ransomware because it's not the encrypting type. That was really easy to fix. We went into Windows, we deleted the Windows profile, and it was gone. Okay, so it's pretty simple. But the stuff that we're seeing today is getting more and more sophisticated. And I'll tell you right now, I just don't see that lessening up. Okay, so this payload, whether it's installing some kind of Trojan, whether it's a banking Trojan or rootkit or remote access Trojan, okay, really that's what's really doing the damage. Okay, so what are these exploit kits? They're scripts that exploit software vulnerabilities to distribute malware. Okay. Typically, they're developed and sold on some kind of darknet market. Has anybody been on the Tor network? Right, so right, Tor browser and that stuff. Yeah. So, why Tor network? Well, Tor provides this anonymity, right? That makes it easy for these guys to do what they need to do. Although I think the FBI has gotten really good at, if they really want to find the source of some of the stuff, they're able to do that. But Tor, a lot of this stuff is done on the Tor network essentially because of the anonymity that it provides. And notice that it's existed since 2006, okay, these exploit kits. So they're not anything that's new. One thing about them is that they come with these colorful names, okay, right? And they're always very kind of colorful, sexy, interesting names, okay? And I'm sorry it's hard to see this, but this is a study that came out by Palo Alto last year that said the dominant exploit kits they were seeing as of July 2016 were neutrino, angler, nuclear, neutrino, angler, nuclear. Do those terms sound familiar? Yeah, because you see them kind of on headlines all the time. So let's look at what some of the characteristics are for these exploit kits. And this is an actual a screen grab of the black hole exploit kit. And it's kind of difficult to see, but one thing I noticed right away, and by the way, I did study Russian in college because when I was in the Navy, the enemy was the Soviet Union. Yeah, if it weren't for me, you'd be speaking Russian right now.
Less about it. We're almost there.
What?
I said we're almost there.
Well, oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, this is definitely Cyrillic here. But what's beautiful about these, and by the way, I've seen a couple of these management consoles. They're absolutely beautiful. But it'll show you, look at this, the exploited versions of web browsers. It'll even tell you by country. It'll tell you what operating system. Okay, so there you are. You're some bad guy sitting maybe in Ukraine, sitting somewhere in Ukraine, managing these compromised systems and networks, from the comfort of your own home via a management console like this. So typically these EKs are going to have a very fancy management console that's very highly polished. Okay, here's some other samples of these interfaces. Okay, their goal is to deliver exploits, right? And the thing is, they're going to find out does that system that maybe was taken to some website, okay, that was compromised, or it depends on the attacker whether they're clicking on some attachment that's been compromised, whether that system is going to be vulnerable to that exploit or not. Typically, it comes with many exploits. When I started this, really, you go to one. There's like one website, one exploit. One. But this is really what makes exploit kits really attractive, is that the attackers have a pool of exploits. So there I go. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a Mac guy, okay? So, it'll go in, no jokes on the Mac people, but I do have a Linux, I'm a Mac, but, I've got to do that for the Linux people. But it'll know, I'll go to this compromised website, it'll see that I'm running OS 10, certain version, and it may not download an exploit at all. But it may, it may be going in with Windows 7, okay, and say, guess what, this is a vulnerability that we can exploit, it's going to download exploit code. Okay, and that's really good because then that decreases the likelihood actually of them being detected. Okay, so they've got a pool of exploits. And they continue to update their exploits. They're very, very aggressive. When you think about anybody impacted by WannaCry? Did you have to deal with a WannaCry? I was very unhappy WannaCry week, 2 weeks ago. I was really unhappy. We spent a lot of time making sure that our clients weren't vulnerable. And you'd think that we'd be up to date on patches, and for the most part, we thought we were, and guess what? Most of my clients were not. I have one client that's 20,000 endpoints, okay? And guess what? They're laptops that sit in a drawer that are only taken out for presentations every couple of months that we have to hit. So yeah, to make sure that we're thoroughly protected, we have to make sure that those systems have been updated. But when you look at how long it took, really, for that exploit to be taken advantage of by the bad guys, when it was released as part of that NSA hack. Okay, it wasn't really very long. So, the bad guys are actually, they're monitoring the CVEs for MITRE, they know where the vulnerabilities are. And guess what? They're pushing out exploits pretty fast. Can anybody guess why that is? Why are they doing that? Why are they so eager to almost be like a traditional for-profit company? Why do you think that is? Well, they're competing too. It's a way, they've got to make sure that they've got the best product when compared to competitors too. Now, they may come with technical support, okay, so if you have problems, they'll actually remote into your system and fix any problems to make things work. And they often include license agreements, and this one is hilarious for me, because bad guys really can't trust bad guys, okay, because they'll screw each other over. And I'm going to translate for you what it says here. It says in translation, in cases of violations of the agreement and being detected, the client loses any technical support. Moreover, the binary code of your bot will be immediately sent to antivirus companies. Okay? So, listen, they have to protect themselves and their revenue stream. So some of the famous exploit kits that we've seen is this first one was called that black hole exploit kit. And I kind of just put him up there because his name is Paunch, and I see where he got his name. But yeah, he was a very, very big deal, so he was caught. And I was kind of shocked by this one. And I don't work in a threat intelligence company, but how did he go to jail? He's a Russian in Russia that went to jail, right? What do you think happened? I mean, I've got my theory. You interested in my theory? My theory, the unwritten rule in Russia, I wanted to say Soviet Union, in Russia, you can hack whoever you want, just don't hack your fellow Russians. And every time that I've been, not all the time, but a lot of times you see when there's a Russian hacker that's been arrested, it's because they hacked internally. So my sense, or either, guess what, they also, it's been known these attackers also collude with the Russian government and Russian law enforcement. Who knows, maybe somebody didn't get the payoff they were expecting, okay, and then this is what happened. Then we've got this, another called Neutrino. It's still in the news now. Used to deliver, or still delivers its payloads via, by targeting Java vulnerabilities. Surprise, right, Java? I don't know, is anybody here in a position where you could not use Java in your organization? Yeah, I mean, that's hard, and we know that's why there's attack, same thing with Flash, right? Essentially, it's basically stuff that we cannot not use in our organizations, so attackers are going to use it. Then we have Angler has dominated the EK market for a very long time. Now notice here, it disappeared in June 2016 because there was arrest of 50 members of this gang that was distributing this. But look at this, they estimated income up to $60 million a year. I think if we added all our salaries in this room, because I know I work in cyber, we do not make $6 million a year total. Okay. Does this give anyone second thoughts about their career choices? Sure does me. All right, so let's talk about how these operate. So really there are two prerequisites for you to be impacted or your system to be impacted by an exploit kit, right? A user is going to visit or more likely is redirected to a website that's hosting an exploit kit. Okay? So you don't necessarily have to intentionally go to a malicious site because, right, we've learned as cybersecurity professionals, I learned early on in my career, don't go to these hacker sites, right? Because guess what? There's a potential that you're going to get compromised too. So all you've got to do is go to some compromised website. And who's been compromised? Well, I know New York Times has been compromised, CNN has been compromised. It can be almost anyone that's legitimate. And we'll see in our example, it's actually a legitimate website that was compromised. And then also you have to have a vulnerability that can be exploited, right? If I go to that compromised website with my Mac and they don't have a Mac exploit, now I'm going to be okay. Or if I go with my Linux machine, I'm probably going to be okay.
That's why they only publish fake news.
That's thank you. So how do they work? So the most prevalent exploits are browser exploits. You surprised by that? Browsers? Yes? No? Surprised anybody? No, it shouldn't surprise you, right? Because really, what's the application that you really use the most? It's a web browser. And your end users, what's the application that they use the most? It's web browsers, right? So it's probably the number one most commonly used app, so why not try to exploit that? And notice that if the victim is found to be vulnerable, it's got a vulnerability, okay, the kit's going to download the payload onto the victim. I'll show you an example of that. So you'll notice that, and I mentioned this before, that they don't want to be detected. Because what happens when we're detected? Then we can do all kinds of blocking and protections against it. So what they've got to do is they've got to basically query that computer, and they're only going to download the exploit or the payload let's just say, they just don't stop downloading everything. They're going to be choosing, if I've got, 20 potential things I can download, then I'm going to pick the one that's most likely to work, and I'm going to try them one by one, actually, okay? So notice now, once they're on your network, right, on that device, they can do whatever they want. And by the way, what do attackers do? Well, it depends on what the goal is, right? In Washington, D.C., we have lots of government. I support government. I've supported for-profit companies, right? And the motivations are different. My guess here in this area that you're probably really targeted by nation states. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, there's lots of opportunistic attacks by cyber criminals, but I'm thinking nation states. When I look at this area and I see a lot of intellectual property, would I be correct on that? I mean, yeah, I mean, are you guys being targeted by nation states? And, we'll mention the typical one, which is China. I mean, it is what it is. We've gotten that too in DC, right? The nature of the attack really depends on the goals of the threat actor. Okay? So let's look at an example compromising. We're going to start here. So this victim is going to visit a compromised website. Okay, like I said, we don't know how either they navigated to it directly or maybe they were redirected to that website. But it is malicious. Okay, and then the web page is going to contact some kind of exploit landing page. The exploit page is going to find what the victim is vulnerable to. Here we go. It's going to look at the characteristics of the visitor, right, browser, and it's going to determine what is this guy vulnerable. Now notice that if no vulnerabilities are found, well then nothing happens, okay, which it happens 99% on the map, right? But if you're a Windows user, okay, this is what's going to happen. It's going to send that, that was a joke. You catch that, right, Windows user?
I caught that.
All right, so sends an exploit with a payload to the victim, okay? So in this case here, determine that this would be appropriate exploit with, and it actually won't be together, it'll be followed after you find an exploit, the payload. But out of all the possible exploits that it has, it's going to really just send you the one that fits you. But I think the beauty of it here is that you've got this whole pool of possibilities here, which makes infection just more likely. Okay? So let's look at one example of an infection using the Rig Exploit Kit and Locky, which was a piece of ransomware that was pretty famous a while back. So really, this is when you look at it, this is the chain of events here. There's an injected script in the page from a compromised website. We'll show you this. There's going to be, and by the way, the name AfraidGate comes from the TLD, the top level domain that was being used. Okay. Then you're going to get the Rig Exploit Kit, which is going to redirect you to a downloader for Locky, and then you're going to actually get the Locky ransomware itself. Okay. So let's look. This is a Wireshark decode of this, and notice I want to note here that it has been filtered here. This is a display filter on these request pages. But step number one is that the user actually is going to this website, allthingsbritish.net. Has anybody been there? Thingsbritish.net? Okay, I've never been there. But to me, it seems like something that's legit. Anybody here British? Okay. So it seems like a legitimate website, but it's been compromised. Obviously, it's probably one of these mom and pop shops that was easy to compromise. So after they visit this website that has been compromised, it's going to redirect them to this site, story.opiniononline.ro. What's that RO domain? Anybody know what RO is?
Romania.
Romania. Shocker. Okay. Then after there, okay, now we don't know where this one is because it could be in another country, but it goes to artunknownproject.com, okay, and this is actually the exploit kit itself, okay, and now here it sends us to this site, which is going to do give you the downloader itself to download Locky later, or actually right after this. So pretty simple, don't you think? Okay, what requires for this to work, really what's required for this is that you need these sites here. Specifically you need. That you need the compromised site. This is probably the hardest one to do, find the compromised site that you're going to pwn. All right, now, when you look at the indicators from the captured traffic, this is what you're going to see. And by the way, there's a whole bunch of them, and I had to delete some of them because of space issues. But I do want to bring your attention to failed DNS query, failed DNS query, failed DNS query, okay? Any comment on that? What do you think? Is that a good thing that this is happening? I mean, if you're a blue teamer, right, if I'm seeing lots of failed DNS queries, okay, and I'm investigating, I'm seeing these funky URLs here. Going, Russia, okay, I think this is Poland, okay. This is good information to have from a blue team perspective to try to defend yourself. So then definitely you want to try to block these kinds of domains if you can do that at the network level. Now the next screen grab is going to show you with the injected script. And here we go. So this is what's going to the injection script here, and oops, I'm sorry, my little thing is not operating properly. Okay, and you'll see here what's being used to inject your script. Can anybody see this? JavaScript, the JavaScript, right? Can we block that? How many of you can block JavaScript in your organizations? Can any of you block scripting in your organizations? Okay, I just really find that really interesting how we've moved to all this active content and all these scripts on the internet, on the web, because that's what users want. But really, aren't they introducing most of the vulnerabilities that we have today, guys? Is it just my environment, right? I mean, think about if you couldn't run a script in a browser ever. Okay, what would be the impact of that? I don't know if I'd want to do it. I mean, I had made one of my users change the password that she had for 20 years. I'm kidding. They got one of my customers. I've never seen this before. The policy was not to change passwords, and they got malware. And I said, I got to do this. I don't care what they think. And I thought I was going to get killed. People were finding me as I was coming down the hall because I've had that password for 20 years now, and I need to change. And really, that's the kind of reaction that I would actually expect to get on something like this. I mean, it just can't be done. You're not going to get work done. The website's designed to function with that stuff, okay? And then in this here, it's being redirected. So it's going to, the URL to the script with an iframe that points to this RigEK landing page, okay? And then on this page here, the landing page for this version of Rig includes a large amount of non-ASCII characters. Now, we don't know what that was all about. You know, when I see stuff that doesn't make sense, I think obfuscation, but nobody really was able to determine that. And then Rig sends a flash exploit. There you go, one of the other things that we need to be concerned about besides scripts and Java. And then the script here was actually, the exploit here was actually XOR, okay, which is not really encryption, but it's a form of obfuscation, okay. Yeah, I mean, you're going to find that these tools are very sophisticated. Do want to introduce obfuscation to protect against what? Any kind of network-based intrusion detection tool that might be able to detect it, and anything locally on too. Then after Rig sends the Locky downloader, the download grabs Locky itself, okay? And once it retrieves Locky, then you're going to have really a problem because that's what does the bad. So now let's look at the next site, the traffic to the next site. These two sites in particular, this findidlist.com and croquetan.com, okay? DNS queries for Locky, they're doing, and once again, this is filtered. It's doing queries for these URLs, right here. You see it here, and you see it here, okay? And then for findidlist.com, notice it didn't work for Croquetan, right? So guess what? No response, can't go to it. But you'll see it's going to try another site. So it's really, these attacks rely on having many, many compromised sites to be able to download this stuff here. So there's a query for findidlist that returns this IP address, and it's from this site here, findidlist.com. That's obviously could be owned, could be compromised. That's actually going to retrieve the downloader for Locky. Then we've got these other queries for these funky URLs. These are callback domains, all right, for the command and control infrastructure. None of them work, but guess what? Even though none of them work, this victim still got ransomware. Okay, so notice in this example here, the file extensions, when things were encrypted, they were given an ODIN extension. Okay, that's how they could tell it's encrypted, and that's why we call this the ODIN version of Locky. Okay, so as I've been doing this more and more, I'm really convinced that a great way of protecting ourselves is by really monitoring DNS. Okay. Because attackers are using domain names, they need to get resolved, and I think you need to be looking at failed DNS queries to best protect your network. Okay. So how are you going to protect against these guys? Honestly, how do you protect against any malware? I mean, how many of you really feel comfortable that you're doing a great job protecting against malware? When we look at host-based solutions, I know there's some advancements in that area. We know that signature-based solutions don't work. I really like network-based solutions. I've had customers move into like Umbrella OpenDNS that have seen dramatic improvements in malware. I mean, dramatic. Yes, sir.
The proxy solve all of this?
How? Why?
Just by not being able to detect the browser you're targeting.
I don't see how.
So it'll knock down the 302s and the 301s if it's repetitive or predictable, so yes.
But not to, I mean, you're still going to get infections.
jump before the payload.
Yeah, think about it. It depends on how the infection is being delivered, right? If the infection is via a Trojanized PDF file, who's going to help with that? No. Yeah. So it depends on the delivery mechanism. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Oh, there's something behind it. So, you know, whether these vulnerabilities on these systems are going to be exploited depends on a couple things, right? The type of vulnerability being exploited, the product versions that are being targeted, attackers' ability to make use of the necessary exploitation techniques, so you're relying on the skills of the attacker. Which, guess what? You know, the levels of, I don't know, I guess the quality of exploit, you know, really varies out there. I mean, if you're going against a nation-state actor, I'd be really concerned. Okay, if you're going after it's a 14-year-old in Japan, you know, I'd be a little less concerned. But guess what? They might still be effective depending on the situation and the amount of time required to build a reliable exploit. So, you know, when we look at our protections, dudes, it's this typical defense in-depth stuff. I mean, really. And, you know, we have to make sure, are we doing this stuff well? Well, obviously, I have some clients that aren't doing automated patch management very well. Otherwise, during WannaCry, I wouldn't have been working, you know, 12, 14-hour days to make sure laptops that were in drawers were patched, right? Antivirus, you know, we know what the deficiency of traditional signature-based antivirus is, but guess what? You still have to have antivirus, right? I've had people say, you don't need antivirus, it doesn't protect you against anything. In fact, I was reading an article recently that said, you don't need antivirus, instead just keep your systems fully patched, okay? Which I kind of understood the logic on that, but guess what? You know, antivirus still catches some of the low-hanging fruit, signature-based antivirus, so you still need it. And plus, some antivirus come with other things, right? You know, IPS functionality, etc., host-based firewall. So they are working with on some anti-exploit technology, but it's still kind of early. Definitely newest versions of applications. The problem is, in my environment, we can't always run the latest version of things. Because if you do, it breaks an enterprise app. Is anybody in that situation? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I remember we had clients that were running old versions of IE because, you know, we can upgrade to the new version because guess what? They can't, the HR app or the accounts payable app is not going to function anymore. So, you know, I tend not to beat up people who are not using the latest version of applications because that's our reality. Usually there's a reason for that, okay? And then I mentioned the whole idea about blocking software. If you want to see how painful blocking software is, I mean scripting scripts, use NoScript, the plugin for Firefox. Does anybody use that? Yeah. Use NoScript on Firefox and have it block everything, and you're going to see how painful it is. You know, it took me about 2 minutes to turn that on. Okay, and I really find it interesting that if you use Tor browser, I remember using the Tor browser when NoScript was on by default. Now you download the latest version of Tor browser, you notice that NoScript is disabled. You guys note that? I thought that was kind of interesting.
There's 3 exploits that turn it back on. The Tor browser said that it wasn't really on.
Okay, there you go. Definitely, you know, have good perimeter defenses. And like I said, like I mentioned before, I really enjoy these DNS services. I guess we call them security as a service now. You know, where you can prevent this stuff from getting on your network in the first place. I'm a big proponent of outsourcing, not because you give that job to, but I found that, you know, even in, like looking at my home and personal stuff, you know, I like expertise on stuff. You know, I like being able to give a job to someone who does that, you know, 24/7. I think they can do a better job than I can. And I'm really convinced that these services, by the way, you notice I have DNS on there. They provide this service too when they're not being DDoSed by the Mirai botnet. I'm going to add that. But yeah, I really think that you get really the best bang for your buck in protection when you're looking at these security as a service type organizations. And then end user training, you know, we put our users through training all the time, and they still tend to click on things they shouldn't. I've gotten users used to send me pictures of stuff that they look suspicious. I think that's pretty cool because really fast they say, Dave, can you take a look at this looks suspicious? And I'm able actually have to respond to them pretty quickly by just a photo that they send me on my mobile phone. All right, so these things, exploit kits are going to grow. I'm telling you right now, they're going to grow. Why? They require very little expertise. Relatively inexpensive. There's a financial split. Remember I talked about that affiliate model? That's very appealing to the distributor, that 70-30 split, and it could vary. They're very flexible. They can deliver many different types of malware. Today it just happens to be ransomware because that's the easiest way to monetize your investment if you're a cybercriminal, right? But if you're a nation state, I don't see nation states, maybe other than North Korea, right, which we think did WannaCry. I don't know. Who thinks WannaCry could be attributed to North Korea? Anybody believe that? Only 2? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So yeah, it depends on really who the threat actor is to see what it would deliver, but it can be almost anything. Very good at avoiding detection because they're using the latest exploits and they're constantly being updated. And by the way, if you want to buy it, you can buy it, or if you want to rent it, that's possible. And come with technical support. And number 9, there's just so many targets, guys. I mean, you know, what, Windows computers are still, what, over 90-something% of the market, right? So we did see a drop in exploit activity this year for a couple reasons. That we had some arrests that went on. But guess what? That just means that the guys who are doing this, they're just laying low, okay? They're just laying low till the attention is turned to something else, and guess what? They're going to continue again. So I see here the authors have gone downsized and gone deeper. They're still doing some development, but for private people that they know, because you know that when you're looking at the darknet, it's really reputation based, right? It's not like going to Macy's and buying a polo shirt. That you got to get to know someone, so they establish these relationships in the darknet, and they'll do private development for people they know, and they know that they're safe, and smaller campaigns. And they're looking at other delivery mechanisms, like delivery via macros. Do you remember when this started? How old is that? Isn't it amazing that this stuff just keeps coming back? So my prediction is that we're going to continue to see cybercrime using these tools for the foreseeable future. Why? Internet's global, so I can hack you from Seoul, Korea, in Washington, D.C. with almost with impunity. And the anonymity that goes with that. Also, the anonymity provided by cryptocurrencies. Okay. We've got these mixers. Anybody have Bitcoin? Bitcoin? Use Bitcoin? Yeah, I've got a couple Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult if you're paying via Bitcoin to really figure out who that person is on the end of that long line because of the development of mixing services. Endless supply of easily exploitable targets, and that includes us guys. Has anybody here ever been targeted? Has anybody here ever had malware? Okay. Who's had malware and too ashamed to raise their hand right now? Because it should be 100%, guys. Yeah, I mean, I do this, I've been doing this for a while. It should be 100%. But that includes us. And one of the reasons is because the attacks are so good. I mean, there are times I've got these phishing emails that I had to go into that SMTP header because, like, this looks real. I'm sorry. And if it didn't go to that SMTP header, I would have noticed that the first server it delivered from was in India. Would never have known. So I tend not to blame people who get infected. It's not their fault. The attackers are very clever, and often more clever than we are. Low probability, here you go, low probability of capture and prosecution. When you think about who's getting caught and is arrested, I mean, you can count on maybe one hand in the last couple of years. So pretty lucrative, and the continued rise of affiliate programs such as exploit kits as a service. And bottom line is there's a lot of money to be made, right? And I think, thank you, you added that. There's a lot of money. And so as long as there's a lot of money, it's going to continue. So one thing, though, they are continuing to adapt like most bad guys do, right? I don't know, in law enforcement, anybody here work in law enforcement? Nobody? Law enforcement? If you ask the typical law enforcement person, the bad guys are always ahead of law enforcement. Would you agree? And it's the same thing for us. The bad guys are always ahead of us. We're always very reactive, right? I mean, how often do we get to be proactive? That's why we need new tools. Hopefully AI is going to help with that. And it's going to be very difficult to police. Notice, even when its creator's arrested, the code is still out there and will be reused. And we've had several incidents in history of code being reused. The most famous one I remember is the Stuxnet virus, right? Stuxnet classified malware, right? And then bad guys got a hold of it and actually tried to redeploy it. 2 minutes, any questions? Yes, sir?
Are you trying to convince us to be black hats?
No. But I have thought it for me. Yeah, my wife actually does cybersecurity, which is really interesting. She works for Gemalto. She's not here right now. But we've actually sat down after the SWIFT attacks. Remember the SWIFT attacks that were attributed to North Korea recently? We're like, wow, they almost got away with $1 billion. And I think they only got away with like that 600 million or something when they got caught. I don't remember the number. And I'll tell you, it makes it kind of appealing, makes you wonder. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You said these exploit kits deliver payloads that are tailored to the user. It seems like
Tailored to the system itself, yeah.
they should hook up to the data management platform.
Good idea. Any other recommendations for the hackers? No? All right, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good day.